This week on Supercars Talk, we've got new team principals, teams moving teams, new driver announcements, plus there's racing on the weekend. Now, I don't think we need a joke. Big news this week. There's been a lot of big news and I don't quite know where to start because there's the immediate biggest news and then there's the long-term biggest news. I think in 10 years' time, the biggest news this week when we look back will be that Roland Dane has been announced as the team principal of PremiAir Racing from 1st of January 2026, which isn't very far away now. Not a real big shock, this one. He has been advising them all year, but it's only a year since he properly stepped away from Triple8. Obviously, there's probably a little bit of bad blood there now with them moving away from Chev to the Ford deal and him not being involved and things like that. But yeah, I think this will be a big turning point for the team. Obviously, what he did at Triple8 over the years, he hasn't forgotten how to do it. And Triple8 was a powerhouse when he left. He knows what to do to turn that ship around and turn it into a powerhouse. It's just a matter of how long it takes. Obviously, it took a few years back in the old days. The big thing is, I suppose, back then you could engineer your way to the front, whereas these days you probably more need to get the right people in the right place. Obviously, previously you had to get the right people in the right places, but they came in quite easily. Getting, Ludo Lacroix was very involved at the start, whereas now it's, I suppose, either finding that next Ludo or trying to bring someone like that across to the team. They have some very good people, a lot of them poached from Triple8 or kind of given from Triple8 as part of data sharing agreements and things like that. But yeah, I would say now it's only a matter of time before PremiAir becomes a powerhouse team. Now, leading on from that, they have announced their two drivers for next year now. No surprises, this has been rumoured for quite a while. It will be Jaden Ojeda and Declan Fraser. This is a tough one. Definitely, Jaden deserves a go at the main game. He's done some impressive things over the last few years as a co-driver in the endurance races. He's doing some impressive things overseas with his AMG Mercedes GT3 deal he's got going on. My big question on these two, though, is are they really a step up on what they had this year? Obviously, there's the questions over Richie Stanaway and all of that kind of thing. It's harnessing that brilliance that Richie shows at times that has been quite difficult. There has been times he's done quite well, but when you look this year, it's not like Jimmy has been setting the world alight all the time. And then when the cars came alive in the wet at Bathurst, you could argue, yes, Richie was the one who made a mistake and put it in the wall. He did punt off Macca as well, but he was coming on like a freight train as well. Like he was kind of on a different planet at that point. Maybe if he buttoned it back a little bit, maybes. But Declan Fraser, Jaden Ojeda next year in the hot seat. Whether the results will improve just by changing the drivers or whether obviously the Roland Dane thing kicks in. The Roland Dane differences won't be happening from round one next year. I fully expect that to be more like 2027, 2028. And maybe these drivers are a bit placeholder-ish until they can go after a big name. Now, the last bit of big news this week is more the immediate one that will be making a big difference in the field next year. SCT Logistics have moved their license and sponsorship and everything from Albury up to Banyo. They'll be with Triple8 moving from Brad Jones Racing. So next year we will only see 5 Supras in the field when we were expecting to see 6. And yeah, there's an extra Mustang kicking around from next year. Previously, SCT have been doing a year-by-year agreement with the Joneses. It will be a 2-year arrangement with Triple8 to kick it off. I would be very interested to know the amount of money that was going into Albury as opposed to the amount of money going into Banyo for this deal, and then also how that will affect Brad Jones Racing, because obviously their whole setup was around running that 4th car, which obviously to run a 3rd car, you need to put on another transporter and a crew and all that kind of thing. That 2nd car with that then becomes a lot cheaper because you're just throwing that into the transporter and you have X amount of crew. Like, you only have to put on a few more people kind of to run that extra car and things like that. I do wonder how that is going to affect the overall Brad Jones Racing budget, because there's going to be that hole from the SCT money going, but then they will probably have to find more money to run that 3rd car as well. And that's why I also wonder how much more money is going into Triple8 to run this car now, as opposed to what, obviously being the 4th car at BJR versus being a 3rd car at Triple8 is probably a very different financial burden. Now, as for drivers, it has been said that they have already locked down a driver. So if that's been previously done, probably, like, there's been some rumours that it was Chaz Mostert during the week. Probably, if the timeline on this is as recent as what it's said to have been, and they've already locked away a driver, chances are probably not going to be someone like that that's got to get themselves out of a contract. My thought is that it's going to be a younger guy who has a budget. Why do I say that? Well, they've been able to afford to go from Albury to Banyo. So, yeah, I'm not sure if the Smiths would have just, chucked in all of that extra money. I think it might be someone who was looking for a seat and couldn't afford one with one of the existing teams. But yeah, this came along where it's a fairly budgeted thing. So they're just topping up the SCT budget. Yeah, it is a very, very attractive seat though. Essentially, if you're a rookie looking in there, yeah, you'd be expecting to be running top 10 in the championship at the end of the year. Or if you're just say like, Richie Stanaway is available now. If you're someone of that ilk, I think Richie's possibly a hard one. But even, it's difficult to name some names who are available, but say if you were a Chaz Mostert going across to there, bang, you'd be in championship contention next year. Guys like Cam Waters and that. You chuck a Kai Allen or Ryan Wood or someone like that in that car, bang, it's championship contention. And really, you just go back to, say, Brock Feeney. He was running top 10 in his first year with Triple8. So, realistically, worst case scenario, if you're a rookie, you're going bang straight into a top 10 seat. Whereas if you were going in as the 4th car at Albury, you would be lucky to get yourself into the top 20. Now, the big question associated with this at the moment, other than who will be the driver, is the pit boom stuff. So obviously, the other year we got down to this all 2x2x2 thing where there was no 1-car teams and everyone had their own pit booms. Now, next year we'll have 2 3-car teams. So the logic dictates that the Triple8 3rd car and the BJR 3rd car will be sharing a pit boom. But then also, especially with this rolling pit layout, where do they go? Jamie says that the way the rules are written at the moment, that 3rd Triple8 car will be tethered to the other 2 Triple8 cars. So we can assume that Triple8 will be leading the team's championship. no matter what people say about Parrot and whatever, they're going to go out and they'll be leading the team's championship next year. So then, in theory, the BJR car, third car, then ends up in the garage next to Triple8, with Triple8 third car. So at the front of pit lane, you'll have Triple8, then you'll have third Triple8 car, third BJR car. Then you're going to have the BJR team there. So they will essentially get the third pit bay no matter what. So Groves, who are currently second in the team's championship, end up in the fourth pit garage. That's the way we all understand everything at the moment. Well, you know, from what Jamie has said, that's the way I understand it. What I think would be more fair on this, though, would be to pair those two third cars together. That's the team championship points for that garage, and then they just end up wherever they end up in the team's championship, be that maybe Macca has a really good run, and, you know, I was going to spout Ryland Gray, who ends up in that seat. They end up like fourth in the team's championship, so they have the fourth garage, and then the normal BJR is down in ninth or whatever, and you know, people will have to walk between them. I think that's a more fair way of doing it, but you know, Jamie and Triple8 will, although Roland's going to be in there starting to argue the other way, so he might like to break them up, and we might see a bit of difference there. Now, before I get onto the race preview for the weekend, the last little thing to cover off is that this basically seals the whole grid for next year. I think there's only 5 seats that are yet to be announced. Really, the questionable ones at the moment is the SCT one that, you know, they say they've got a driver, they haven't announced it yet, and the second MSR seat, because at the moment we expect Jack de Brock to be announced in the first MSR seat, I suppose. Job Stewart will be at Erebus. That just hasn't been announced yet. And I'm expecting Aaron Cameron to continue with the Blanchards. So that locks away those 3 seats. So yeah, we just need the announcement of who's at SCT and then who's taking that second MSR seat. So we have racing this weekend. The track schedule for the weekend are Friday, 2 30-minute practice sessions. Saturday, 30-minute qualifying session. I can only assume with it being 30 minutes that it is a 2-part one. Once again, lack of information on the Supercars website. Thank you very much, guys. Top 10 shootout in the afternoon, and then at 4:15 p.m, the race 28 of 85 laps. Sunday is the same schedule, but a little bit earlier in the day, with the race kicking off at 3:10 p.m. The form guide, last year we saw Cam Waters and Brody Kostecki take the wins. Saturday was a 1-2 for Tickford, with Thomas Randall in second and Brock Feeney was third, while Sunday Will Brown followed home, Brody Kostecki, and Feeney was third again. Looking towards the finals, this is round 1 of the finals. We have a top 10 at the moment, which is Feeney, Payne, Brown, Waters, Kostecki, Mostert, De Pasquale, Randall, Wood, and Allen. There will be 3 people kicked out this weekend. I expect us to lose a big name over the weekend. I think one of, I'm going to say that the top 6, so down to Mostert, they're the big names in the finals. I'm expecting one of them to be, say, taken out in one of the races or have a mechanical failure or something like that. I'm expecting one of those guys. And why will it be Chaz? Well, Walkinshaw have a really bad record at the moment at Surfers Paradise. Since Gen 3 era came in, they haven't done really well, where Triple8, they're strong everywhere, so they'll be fine. Groves, this car won in 2023. They were really strong there last year as well. Even like Richie had pretty good result. I think he had 2 top 10s there last year. Tickford, they have been really strong both years, with Cam Waters winning a race in 23 and 24. So Brody Kostecki, he's his worst result since Gen 3 started has been 5th at the Gold Coast. So yeah, Chaz I think will be the big name out, and then probably De Pasquale and Wood or Allen. I think one of them. It's going to be a big ask, I think, for Kai Allen, like his first time there, and then trying, especially he's in last position, so he's got the least amount of starting points. We've also got to look, like Brock Feeney is in a really, really good position. Like he doesn't need that many points to be able to, at least scrape through into Sandown. He can nearly DNF one and have a shocker and, probably still get his way through. Nat Payne winning the Enduro Cup has put himself in a really good position as well. While, someone... Brown Waters, Kostecki, Chaz, they're not in as good a position, but Chaz is, he's going to need two reasonable result. Like he's going to definitely have to be ahead of the other guys to be able to get through. Where if he has one kind of ordinary race in there, he might be the one to miss out. But that is my predictions. I don't want it to be Chaz and, it could be both WRU cars out after the weekend. I don't want that to be the case. But at the moment, I'm probably thinking Chaz, De Pasquale and Kai Allen to be the ones out this weekend. I reckon Brody and Cam Waters are going to be the ones taking the wins, with Feeney probably taking it a little bit easier because he doesn't have to stress too much. Matt Payne will definitely be in the fight there. And I think that Brown will continue his qualifying struggles, but be able to race through and, get himself into the finals with that. But anyway, down in the comments, let me know your predictions for the weekend. And also, who do you think will be in the SCT car? And what do you think we should do with the pit lane layout next year? Do you want to see, Triple8, the 2/3 cars, and then Brad Jones Racing essentially be grouped together, or would you like to split them up in the pit lane? Anyway, racing this weekend, hopefully it's as exciting as Bathurst. Anyway, until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.